I'm good.
For the second time in the last 9 years, the Georgia Bulldogs are ranked number one in the initial College Football Playoff Committee rankings. Dean Legge, Ryan Curley joining you after those have been released. And Ryan, your initial thoughts from the Dogs being ranked number one. I think the whole world expected that, and that's exactly what happened.
That was exactly what we thought was going to happen. It's exactly what should have happened. They are the deserving number one team in the country. As far as the rest of the top 10, I don't know if that's what everyone expected.
We can talk about
It does.
that.
I'm not super surprised by some of it, but do you want to start with just talking about Georgia?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're the number one team. I think if they lose, and I mean, I think any combination of 12-1 gets Georgia to the college football playoff. Clearly, any combination of 12-1 gets Alabama to the college football playoff. I think personally, those are correct. I think, right now I would expect a 13-0 Georgia. And I reserve the right to change my mind, but I don't see any reason why I would do that. I mean, I did, occasionally get information from other folks. Here's Georgia as they're at plus 110 at Caesars after starting the season at 700 and plus 750, and that is a real big liability for those casinos out there. Alabama's at plus 260. They basically, Ryan, said, hey, who looks the best well, the college football playoff mirroring Las Vegas. I think, for me, I've talked about this for a while. I think it's, Texas A&M definitely earned that victory against Alabama. Alabama's the number two team in the country for me, has been for a while. If you want to start talking about everybody else, I mean, look, Georgia's going to be close to 40-point favorite over Missouri. They're going to be close to a 22-point favorite over Tennessee. The game against Tech and Charleston Southern are not going to be competitive. They'll probably be near 30 plus or 40 plus, games. There's not a lot in the way. Georgia's played their season with the exception of the Tennessee game. They're going to show up to Auburn. Excuse me. They're going to show up to Atlanta almost certainly undefeated. And now you've got everything else here. I mean, they're going to play Alabama. It doesn't look like they got to win that game. That game's to eliminate Alabama and to play in Miami. That's what this has come down to. And people, listen, hey, save the comments about, looking for it. That's not what we do. We are here to talk about the team. We don't play for the team. We don't coach the team. That's not our job. Our job is to talk about the team. That's what we do. That's how I've made a living. That's how Ryan's getting into the industry. So please, with all this stuff, they can lose any week. They're not going to. Take it, Ryan.
They can lose anybody can lose any game, and that
Yeah,
is
I
why they
don't. Do
play
we
them.
have to
And
give
that
these
is the cliche.
disclaimers every single week? I mean, no.
No,
Just go.
like we cover the team. We talk about the team. We write about the team. We make content about the team. We are not part of the team. With the glasses. Uh, Look, and it might not even be Alabama in that
It might
SEC
not.
championship game. That
You
it's
got
not
that right.
set. And I'm not 100% it's going to be Alabama. I think they're a very good team. They are not the Alabama team of the last few years.
Yes.
Auburn can beat them. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
No.
Auburn can upset them. It's going to be in Auburn. Bo Nix has done it before. So
That's
it's not
that's
I'm not
amazing.
I'm not sitting here I'm not sitting here and saying that Alabama's going to lose that game quite yet because in all reality I think that it's probably going to be them in Georgia, but as of right now, I don't I don't I don't think Alabama can beat. They can beat Georgia, but I don't think they will when that matchup eventually probably happens. Um, they should blow out the rest of their regular season schedule. They
Georgia.
should, yes.
Yeah.
There is no should or shouldn't in a lot of things in life, but they should
Yeah.
blow
Yeah.
out the remaining four teams on the regular season schedule. They should all be at least 20-point victories if they play the way they have this year
Mm-hmm.
and the way that we know that they can. That is the reality of it. That is the Georgia team that we're dealing with here. This is the Georgia team we're watching. We're watching an elite defense. We're watching an offense that has potential to explode at any moment,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who's out there. And, I don't think that we should sit here and argue JT Stetson since we do that, in
What
a
did you
lot of
make
other
of what did
videos.
you make of Kirby tonight, though? I mean, not. I mean, he didn't say that Stetson would start. I mean, to me, he's been signaling, hey, we could make a change here for a few days. That's what it seems like to me. But I know how this goes, what he says and so forth. Who knows?
I talked to some people today,
Some people. Here we go.
and
Here we go.
there were differing opinions on it. I'm
Oh,
like,
no, that's a change.
there's differing opinions on if it should be Stetson or if it should be JT. These are people who have opinions of value, but
Right.
you know, not everyone's 100%. It should be JT. I think the national media, I think the Georgia football media, and people like us have kind of sat here and said we think that it should be JT Daniels out there because at the end of the day, he gives you a better chance to win and he gives you a better chance to win big. That's my opinion. That's a lot of people's opinion. But that's not necessarily everyone's opinion anymore. There are some people that are backing
Oh, yeah.
Stetson over JT Daniels, and
Yeah,
I'm
for
gonna kind of
sure.
leave it at that. I don't know who Kirby's gonna start on Saturday. I really
Oh,
think
no, I know I don't know.
it really could be either of them. You
Yeah, it
know,
could. And we're still a long way. Go ahead.
stuff can happen this week, and like we talked about, what we heard was that Stetson just outplayed JT in practice last week. That's
Right.
what we were told.
I mean, I'm not
And
surprised by that.
if that happens again this week, Kirby's gonna start Stetson. I
Well,
mean,
look, I mean, listen, shouldn't he?
yeah, I mean,
I
if
mean,
Stetson Bennett is outplaying JT Daniels in practice, you have to go with that guy.
what if JT Daniels is outperforming Stetson?
Then I think you have to go with that
I
guy.
mean, this is not
We
that hard. I mean,
you know,
we just don't see it.
we all love to I get to see 8 to 15 minutes of it once a week in what is probably some what's the word for it? It's not all real, probably.
Right.
So, what we get shown. So, at the end of the day, a lot of us love to come sit on here and question Kirby Smart's decision making. He's going to play the guy that he thinks gives his his team the best chance to win in that moment.
Well, I'll start. I'll
And
start.
you know,
I'll start questioning his decision making when I feel like it's doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
Everything that's happened so far makes sense, has made sense. If you want to do the Justin Fields thing, you can wear yourself out. That made sense to me. What didn't make sense to me was in 2015 when Fatone Balto was starting in Jacksonville. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's a different
yeah.
ball game. Let's roll
If we're
on through the. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. My last comment was the only two things this year that didn't make sense to me that he's done as far as the quarterbacks go was when he threw Stetson in there against South Carolina. I didn't understand that.
I didn't get that
Um,
necessarily. Yeah.
and then I think that JT should have been out there in some capacity against Florida. I understand that he wasn't, but I think he should have been. That was my last comment about that.
You got Georgia, Bama, and then Michigan State, Oregon, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan,
We're gonna
Oklahoma, Wake, and Notre Dame. I'm not sure Notre Dame can wiggle their way into this thing. Wake Forest needs a lot of help. They could get it in front of them. It would behoove them to have played Notre Dame. Pittsburgh losing this past week did not help Wake. So I would focus on the top eight. I think everybody in the top eight can still get in. And
yeah, I don't.
Auburn getting in at 12 or whatever. I don't see Auburn getting in, but Michigan State, all you gotta do is win out. Oregon, all you gotta do is win out. Ohio State, all you gotta do is win out.
Well,
Michigan,
I mean,
Michigan,
I don't think
probably
that
all you
I
gotta
don't.
do is win out. And Oklahoma, maybe all you gotta do is win out.
Can we really sit here and rule Auburn out? There is a way for them to get in, man. If they
Yeah,
if
it's
they
gonna
win out
be
the regular season and beat Georgia,
right.
they're gonna have a really big argument to get in because that
Yes,
means
I
that
agree.
the only team that beat them this year was
Did I use the phrase "rule them out"? I
you.
may
I think you
have.
did.
Okay, so I think it's just. I mean,
I
I
don't think
think
it's going to happen, but
I
I don't
think
think you can rule
Auburn is
them out though.
probably going to lose this weekend to Texas A&M. But
Yeah.
we've in the past. I'll say this, and I want to wait to see if Auburn wins the league with one loss in the SEC, two losses overall. I mean, to me, you have a very good, strong case that they should play in the college football playoff along with Georgia. Now,
And they've done it before. Or no, no, no,
that
no,
has
no, no.
not happened. I was going to
That has
start
not happened.
talking
It
about
almost happened.
the 17 game where you had Auburn as the number two team in the country with two losses. They lost at Clemson, and I might be wrong about the at part. I think it was at Clemson, and then they had lost to somebody, maybe A&M. The West is challenging, but to beat Georgia and Bama in back-to-back weeks, Auburn in back-to-back weeks has not done that. They've done that in a stretch of time, back-to-back, and then they had to turn around and play Georgia again and got smoked, or beaten solidly. So no, I don't think that Auburn will get there for obvious reasons, which is the schedule is brutal. Same thing for Ole Miss. Alabama and Georgia are the class of the league. I think we're going to see them play in Atlanta, and you're going to see tons of. I mean, you thought the 6 million that watched Kentucky, Georgia, or 6 million that watched Florida, Georgia. I mean, that's gonna be 16 million people that are gonna watch that game if
That's a
Georgia and
marquee
Alabama.
matchup.
It's gonna be huge. I mean, you're talking about two of the behemoths in college football.
Who have a
Ryan.
history the last few years.
Well, look, since 2014, only three programs have started the season number one in the college football playoff rankings: Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama. That's it. So, and only one of those teams, Alabama, last year started the season at one in the playoff rankings and went on to win the national championship. I don't know if you can say that this Georgia team is as dominant as that Alabama team was, because I think the 2020 Bama team, you can make the case that they're one of the best all time in college football. But I'm not sure that I think it's a relevant comment or question. We're just going to have to see. The 15 Clemson team was a really good team that got out and got hot and deserved to be the number one team in the country that year. Alabama had lost. In 16, Alabama was undefeated. Georgia was undefeated in 17. Mississippi State was the number one and didn't even play in the playoff. In 17, Georgia was undefeated. Clemson was undefeated in 18. Ohio State had to have been undefeated in 19. So it's almost always an undefeated team. We'll see what this means as time goes. Georgia is definitely the number one team in the country. I get that.
I think
I
that was the
I felt that for a
only
while.
thing in these rankings for the committee that was not a question.
All right, how about Cincinnati? I feel like we have to kind of have the
Okay,
obligatory Cincinnati conversation. I think
I'm
they're
okay
about,
with where they were put.
yeah, they're in front of Oklahoma for me. I don't know if they're in
Me
front of
too.
Michigan or not, but I think that's irrelevant. You've got three Big Tens that cannot survive that are in the top seven. They're not going to survive this. Okay, two of them already got a loss,
Hmm.
and you got Michigan State still got to play Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's got to play both of them. Welcome, fellas. And then, Oregon, I think honestly, man, if this were Georgia and you looked at this thing and you said, we get a top four, we know Alabama's good. We got a top four that's Oregon and Michigan State. I
Those
think
teams are not going to beat Georgia.
I'm telling you, they would love that. I
Yeah.
mean, Cincinnati
I,
has proven they can play with Georgia. Now, whether they'll continue to be able to do that,
you
I
know,
don't know.
if I'm Georgia, Oregon's one of those teams I'm kind of rooting to play. The teams I don't want to see if I'm Georgia in that first round of the playoff would be in Ohio State. I
Sure.
wouldn't want to have to see Alabama again.
You can't.
Uh,
That's mathematically impossible.
no,
That will not
mathematically,
happen. Yeah,
that will not happen. Um,
that can't happen. They can play in the
if
national
Georgia and
championship.
Bama, if Georgia and Bama both make it, they're not going to let them play in the first round. They're just not going to do.
Correct.
That. I
Correct.
don't
That won't
think.
happen. No,
Um,
it's just impossible. That cannot
so,
happen.
but out of the possibilities for who could end up at 4, Ohio State's the one I would want the least. You know,
Well, but
but
Ohio
those,
State would jump Oregon if they ran the table. Okay, and obviously in that scenario, you could have you could.
yeah, but that
I
Michigan
don't want
State,
to. I don't want to overspeak. No one beside the way it looks to me, and just projecting, no one beside at this stage right now. No one is going to jump Georgia or Alabama for the number one spot. It's going to be one of those two that's the one. Okay. So the number one seed is going to play in Miami. I'm calling that right now. I mean, there's just, I mean, if Alabama's the one, they very well could say, hey, we'd like to play in Dallas. I could see that, but they're not going to play Oklahoma down there. I think if you're Georgia or Alabama, you'd prefer to. I don't know, but anyway, let's not get caught up in the location. Georgia or Bama
the
is going to be
way,
the
yeah,
one, and the
the
question
way
is
it
who.
looks to me, the way it looks to me is the SEC champion is going to be number 1.
Sure,
The Big Ten champion is going to be number 2. That's
yes,
the
it
way it's
should
looking like
be.
it's going to play out. Whether it's Michigan
Should
State
be.
or
Well,
Ohio
we
State,
say we're
it
assuming
looks
it's
like that's
not
how it's going to.
Minnesota. We're assuming it's not Minnesota. Don't laugh. We've seen some strange things in the Big Ten championship game in
Anything
the
can
past.
happen, but
Yeah,
we're being a little more realistic.
right.
Um,
I don't mind
the
Cincinnati there. Oklahoma.
Cincinnati can creep in there, man. It's
Oh,
still
I
possible.
agree. Oklahoma's the one that needs to get rolling. It's time, guys. I mean, it might be a little late, but they've got a little makeup period there to where they can, get the job done with Oklahoma State. They got Baylor, but they can lose those games too, man. I mean, Ryan, they can lose to Baylor.
They could. They struggled against Kansas. That was not a good game. Did you watch that game?
Yes,
That was
it was
bad.
not good. I mean, they did not
Um,
play well.
and this, I think this could be a big wake up call for Oklahoma. They put us at 8. I don't know how much they're going to look at it. Oh, they put us at 8. We need to roll, man.
Is
They
there
can put up
any
60 any
chance?
game.
I mean, how much chaos does Wake Forest need?
If they're a 13-0 ACC champion,
I mean, the Big Ten's going to beat themselves up. I mean, it's not a lot of
I
chaos,
think you
man.
need Cincinnati to lose,
You'd need Cincinnati to lose, which is not out of the question in their
and I think
championship
you'd
game.
need Oklahoma to lose.
Well, Wake
I
Forest,
think,
Wake Forest is
yeah.
probably not going to be favored against Clemson on the road, so they're going to need some help right there. But
To me, a Wake Forest would need to
and
be
they
13-0, and they would need Oklahoma and Cincinnati to lose for them to have a
and
chance.
they're a dog this week. I mean, they're a 2-point dog at Carolina. So I just
Yeah, there's no guarantee they win that game. It's the ACC,
yeah, Wheel of Destiny.
so
I mean, I just I think in looking at it, it's a lot of stuff we already knew. I mean, we already knew Georgia was going to be the one. I suspected that Alabama would be the two.
I thought they were
I
going to
think
put
they
Michigan
deserved it.
State at 2. I have no problems with this top 6. I look at this top 6. I have no problems with it. I think it makes sense. Um, I was curious as to if it was going to be Michigan State or Bama at 2. I wasn't going to be upset either way, as far as what I thought was true.
Let me add this. Just
Okay.
the if you are 2 or 3, it's totally irrelevant in the final rankings. I mean, it's stuff, it's content. It's things
No,
for
you're
people to
playing each
talk.
other.
You're playing each other. The question is, are you going to be in dark uniforms or lights? And where you're going to play is going to be determined by who the 1 seed is. I mean, if you're Michigan State, would you rather go to Miami or would you rather go to Dallas? You don't get to pick. So it's what it
So,
is.
okay, so say there's a scenario where Oregon and Ohio State both went out. Who's ahead?
It has to be Oregon. They won.
I mean,
I
right?
mean,
They won.
if Oregon beats Georgia, Oregon should be in front of Georgia. We had this discussion for the Clemson game. If Georgia would have lost that game, and we come down to it here at the end, you know, the Clemson would have to be over Georgia, and if they had the same record. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, why are we playing the games, okay, Herm Edwards, if you're not trying to win them? What are we doing? So
You
I
play to win
just
the game.
yeah, you play to win the game. They won on their home field by more than a score. It was 2 scores. They outplayed them. We all watched it, and I am concerned. I think Ohio State's probably the better team, but they lost, and it does matter that you lose. I think Georgia's in really good position here.
Yeah,
In
well, what
in
is
many,
ESPN gives them over a 90% chance to make the playoff, maybe over 95%. I
uh,
don't, not that those numbers really matter,
they don't
but
matter,
look,
but
we're looking at it to where if Georgia wins out, or if Georgia's 12-1, it looks like they're going to be in.
the one, yeah, I just want to shove this out there into the universe too. I've covered. I mean, covered. I've closely followed Clemson for in-law reasons for a long time, and Georgia's going to be in a position, with the exception of the championship game, that Clemson's been in a lot, which is they have the last quarter of their season playing games that the other team in their universe, so they can kind of tweak things, get them right, without worrying about these massive showdowns to close the season.
Yeah, before
Georgia's
you
in
get
that,
to the conference championship.
yeah, Georgia's in that position right now. I don't see, I mean, Texas A&M maybe. I don't see Auburn beating Georgia. Auburn has improved, but if you get to Atlanta, Georgia's going to be favored by a field goal or more. They would probably be a double-digit favorite over Auburn, They would probably be at least a 10. Well, it'd be at least an 8, 9, 10 point favorite over Texas A&M, and they would be somewhere between 2 and 3 point favorite over Alabama, which means they should win, but it's not an obvious win. So that's where we're at with this thing. I mean, I think they're in a really good position. We're going to monitor what happens this weekend against Mizzou. I don't have anything bad to say about what I saw tonight. I think the committee basically got it right. I mean, if they had Oregon in front of behind Ohio State, I think that'd be odd. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm not worried at all. They just got to keep winning.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with this list. I mean, I think it's right for what it is now, and it's going to change every week.
Yep.
And we're obviously going to get on here every week and talk about it. But Georgia's the clear number one. That's the main takeaway. Do you have the game on?
What is going on,
I don't
man?
have I don't have a TV to where I can see it from where I'm sitting
Oh
right now.
my God! All right, we got to get off before another Braves pitcher is broken in half during this thing. All right, we'll see you over on
Oh
the
no.
website.